Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Data Mix. George and I think George is back. It looks like he is. I think probably the last
I could be back.
I think you are back, mate. Yeah. I think the last time we saw you all was with Christmas Elf, and we were running around panicking physically how we were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, this time all of our tech just crashed literally before the episode, so I apologise if you got two Data Mix streams at the beginning there, but it looks like we are back online. Are we back online, George? It looks that way.
I think so. Fingers crossed.
All right, good. I love the way that you're dynamically switching your camera, like almost like you're completely unprepared for this. I jest, of course, but there's been a few technology bugs in the system, shall we say.
Yeah, I blame Windows updates.
Always at the least convenient time, right? Always at the least convenient time.
Exactly.
So, look, it's tremendous to be back, mate, and I see that you even managed to get your rocket ship in the right place. I managed to get the Xbox in the corner in shot, and you managed to get your rocket ship up. So the important things are happening in life.
Exactly. So, what have you been up to since we last saw each other 3 weeks ago?
Down in London? Yeah, that was a backdrop for this episode, really, wasn't it? It's been an interesting. I think we've both been jet setting around, virtually speaking, literally speaking. I've visited two places in Ireland. I think my last trip concluded yesterday, actually. I was at the Qlik Masters Summit in Dublin, which was a fantastic experience. I really, really enjoyed it. Such knowledgeable people there, and feeling quite humbled being around guys like Rob Winderlich, Barry Harmson, Oleg Troyansky, Nick Webster. All of these guys like know what they're talking about, and many clickies in a room that just talk and click for 3 days. So pretty much I'm living my real life here, mate, to be honest. How about you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, nothing exciting to me. This week, client workshops. I've been to London, not quite as salubrious as Dublin. Although the beer's not bad, but it's it's a London IPA that you drink as opposed to the Guinness in Dublin. Prior to that, I think I was Eastern Europe, Lithuania, and then the week before, I think that was with you in London. So yes. Sorry about all these air miles. I am getting solar panels installed as we speak, so I'm hopefully offsetting my carbon footprint, because I do feel bad about the jet setting we do.
Yeah, well, look, that's awesome stuff, and I think that I'm not really one to talk. I've been clocking them up domestically recently, and I'm heading down to see family over the October holidays, as I'm sure many other people are at this time. Those with small children kicking around there as well. So, yeah, it's been an interesting time, and as you mentioned, I think it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since the sort of conception of this episode. Shall suspense here. I think we've marketed this pretty openly as who we've got on board. Obviously, we were able to spend a bit of time in London together at Big Data London. We'll chat a lot in the actual chat that we've got, but Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's been a while. It's been a while. It feels like so much longer in our lives. We do love to do the episodes in the room, but it just wasn't possible this time to make it all happen. So here we are.
Exactly. This will be an interesting episode. It's a bit of a trial for us, isn't it? So we're going to be playing our recording with us as a little picture-in-picture, taking comments as they come in. But we'll see, because if this works, this gives us the flexibility to do quite a few more using a similar format.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always good to have the sanity check that we are actually online, right? So I'm just having a look at the chat here, and it's good to see that Qlik is joining us, Qlik Staige, and we've actually got some contact on the stream, which is great. So, look, guys, it's also he has a very nice comment for you that you've been reducing your carbon emissions, so that's very important as well. So. Guys, if you want to keep on top of the chat, of course, we love to interact with you. But because this is a slightly different show this time, we're going to be running the interview. We'll be keeping track of the comments, and hopefully we can have some time all at the end together where we can continue to chat about Mike's comments. So we're going to be a bit different. It's going to be a bit experimental, and you'll see us flashing about the screen. So yeah, should be a good one. How are you feeling, George? You ready to go for this?
I'm ready for it. I'm excited, Brian. Let's hope that pray to the technical gods that the IT keeps up. Nothing bad happens.
Yep.
And do your thing with the buttons and make it all come together.
Right, nice one. So let's give the official, I guess, the official intro then, guys. That this is episode 15 of the Data Mix. We have recently interviewed Mike Capone, and this is the recording of that interview. And we look forward to seeing your comments in your chat. And the interview lasts about 35 minutes, roughly. So we'll be back at the end of the show, and you'll see us picture-in-picture to see our reactions as we go as well. Thanks, guys. We look forward to speaking to you shortly. Okay? Morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are. My name is Brian Bouden, and
my name is George Beaton, and we're back.
And we're back. It's been a while, mate. This is the Data Mix, and we are at episode 15 of the Data Mix. Now, potted history of this, right? There's actually an episode 14.5 of the Data Mix, which did happen and was real, but for lots of reasons we couldn't actually. Lots of technical reasons we couldn't actually bring to you. So
Las Vegas reasons.
Part of Las Vegas related reasons, yeah. So part of today is being able to right that situation and make sure that you guys get the content and the guests that you deserve as our loyal followers. So, mate, it's interesting. Where are we today? We're in London, right?
London.
Why are we in London today?
Big Data London.
Big Data London.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's a big expo hall there. If you were at Qlik World, think a bit bigger, I reckon. Probably more vendors, more stuff, lots of data vendors.
More cramped, difficult to walk around, difficult to hear each other. It's chaos. It's a jungle, but really interesting, and some really interesting vendors there, actually.
But we're not recording there. We've moved away somewhere a bit quieter, because there are no quiet places in the Olympia. But it's been a really interesting few days, actually, and for me there's been, I won't talk about this too much, but for me there's been really interesting stuff about the theory of data, and whilst the tooling is really important, I've seen a lot of great sessions about things like data literacy and data modeling, and how well attended those sessions are has really shocked me, because people have shunned the product demos and they've gone more for here's the theory, right?
The big thing, the big change here is AI and data. That's what I was seeing. Every single vendor was pushing some kind of angle of AI. It's this is the hue and cry in the industry just now. This is what we're hearing all the time. That's going to be an intro for you and our guest, actually, to talk about that on the technical side.
It sets some running themes for us, doesn't it, in terms of setting the baseline for today. And as you can see from our caption below, there's no suspense here. We have a very big guest for you today. We have Qlik CEO Mike Capone. So without further ado, we'll turn Mike on. Let's get him on and make sure all of this is working. It was like 3 minutes ago, so hopefully it's still working now. Are you with us, Mike?
I'm still here. I didn't run away from backstage, guys.
Awesome. Welcome today, Mike. Nice to see you again. You haven't changed a bit since Vegas.
You're very kind. So yeah, Brian and George, look, it's great to see you guys. Happy to be back, and certainly talk a little bit about Vegas and then roll forward from there.
Sure, that sounds amazing. I think probably just to kick things off, Mike, we have to start about your gift bag. You were just telling us the story about one particular item in your gift bag that means a lot to us as Scots, but maybe not quite as much to you as Americans. And it seems to be our national drink, Irn Bru, which does divide opinion when it gets exported. But it's the only country in the world that outsells Coca-Cola is Scotland. I think at last count it was the last country. So yeah, it's a shame that didn't work. But
I think you have to. It's maybe an acquired taste. You have to be brought up on.
Maybe. What are your thoughts on that then, Mike? A nice easy question to start with.
Well, look, first of all, I loved the gift bag. You guys rock the gift bag. Look, here is my Data Mix mug, which I use religiously every day. This isn't a shameless promotion for you guys. I actually use this mug all the time. And of course, there's a Qlik green in it. So that was brilliant.
That wasn't planned.
All that said,
that was our branding, Mike, not yours. So yeah, it just happened.
I think it's Qlik branding. I think, look, either way, I'm riding that one. But I have to say, so the gift bag was great. Whatever that thing was, the Irn Bru, at the risk of offending everybody in Scotland,
yeah.
It was horribly offensive to my taste buds. And I don't. It's not like I love Coca-Cola, but I got to tell you, I don't know how you guys choke that stuff down.
Well, interesting. I think we're very patriotic in Scotland. So I think haggis similarly divides opinion. But if you're Scot, you say you don't like haggis. Well.
I'll have the last word in the Irn Bru debate before we move on here, right? And I think the thing to say in defence of Irn Bru, the best way to drink it is, George will defend me on this, out of a glass bottle and slightly flat. And you had plastic bottle, very fizzy version, probably slightly warm from being carted around Vegas that morning. But yeah, look, that's cool. We'll let you away with that one. But look, Mike, we really, really appreciate having you back here again. Obviously, it was fantastic to be on stage in Vegas. Seems such a long time ago, right? And so much has happened since then.
It does seem like a long time ago. And yes, and we were on the cusp of a lot of things in Vegas that we just weren't ready to announce. So in the last few months, we've actually had an explosion of different announcements. Obviously, what we're doing with Talend, our AI strategy, Qlik Staige, and look forward to discussing that with you guys in your audience.
Sure. Yeah. But I think the way we're going to split this up then is Brian's very much going to be asking the questions about the product, and I want to ask a few questions about Mike the man. Who is the man behind the company Qlik now? Because how long have you been there now, Mike?
5.5 years.
5.5 years, yeah. So you are now the face of Qlik, and you have taken it through some very interesting changes. Which, to all intents and purposes, we've kept the same fan club, we've kept the same users, and we've all been along this journey with you. But for you to have taken the company through that journey, I wonder that takes a special personality, a special character. So I just want to understand a little bit about what drives you, the man, Mike. What gets you up in the morning, and how do you? First of all, what gets you up? At what time is it where you are? 8 a.m.
Yeah, it's 8 a.m. here.
It's 8 a.m. So we drive your first call of the day, I presume, was with that. I mean, for that we're very grateful. But generally, what drives you? What keeps you going each day?
Well, so I'm a little bit older than I look. My youthful appearance, don't let that deceive you. I've been around the block a few times, and you all know I started as a programmer, right? I know you wouldn't believe it, given how non-technical I am these days, but I can still write SQL as good as anybody on this podcast. What I'll say is this: at this point in my career, the most important thing to me is to be around really interesting and smart people, and I really have the privilege to do that. One of the things that attracted me to Qlik was this fiercely loyal, very passionate community of luminaries, as you guys are aware, and customers and users. We have this this loyalty, you know, we have, you know, 93% gross retention in our business. I mean, customers who start with Qlik stay with Qlik, as you guys know very well. And I get to surround myself with those people all the time, and we get to solve really, really interesting problems. So really, you know, George, what motivates me is that I'm working with people who really care about what they're doing. They're not mercenary, they're very loyal, and together we solve interesting problems. And yeah, I get to collect a paycheck along the way, but you know, the more important thing is, as I kind of write this chapter of my career, like being able to do something super interesting.
Yeah. So this isn't a job for you. It's more of a calling, and it's what we say is the best way to work is not to work. Pick a job that you love, and then you never have to go to work a day in your life.
That is true. That is true. You know, when you're 21 years old and you're out of college and you need to pay the rent, then you pick a job. But you know, as you get some flexibility in your life, I echo that advice very much, which is, you know, you gotta love what you do. You gotta love who you work for. We had a leadership forum at Qlik yesterday. Had all the people leaders on one webcast. You know, hundreds and hundreds of managers. And you know what I told everybody was, you know, the first most important decision in your life is who you marry, right? We kind of know that. Second most important decision is who you work for, you know, the company, but also the individual, the person. And, you know, so I remind everybody, like, you are the second most important person in many people's lives, your team, and how you engage with them and how you make them feel, and the passion and energy that you give every single day matters. And those people go home from work every day after spending, you know, 8-9 hours working, you know, with Qlik, for Qlik. How do you make them feel? And I know I feel great every day. And I think most of the Qlik employees share that passion and energy for the company.
Yeah, but it's also getting them, I think, to coalesce around a shared vision, Mike. So as a leader, this is what you're setting the strategy and the vision for the organization, which your teams clearly believe in, your customers clearly believe in, and they follow along.
That's right. That's right. And look, our passion is always about solving the hard problems, right? We're not. People view us as a visual analytics company. They used to view us that way, and you know, we do that really well. Everybody knows that. But what we really excel at, what separates us, is solving really hard problems. We have people. We have a climate change conference going on in our office today in New York, my office in New York City today. And Qlik, as you know, helps organizations like the UN and C40 cities tackle climate change because of technology and the in-memory engine and the associative engine and all those things actually help people do that. Not a lot of platforms can do that. In fact, none. But we can. And that's the kind of thing that every Qlik employee knows and believes in. So, and it is that differentiation of solving hard problems that actually gives people the energy to push forward with all the great things that we're doing.
Yeah, good. And so then when you're not doing that, Mike, how do you relax? How do you kick back then at the weekend, switch off a little bit, and maybe stop thinking about the kind of big world problems and concentrate on your own well-being? Thank you.
That's all right. I'm here just to give you one word when you need that.
Yeah, no, look, the good news is I have an easy indirect answer for that. I have a 16-year-old daughter who is, you know, the most important thing in my life and my wife's life. And so I love Qlik, but you know, my time when I'm not devoting to Qlik is devoting to her. She's an amazing kid. She's a great athlete. She's a really good tennis player. And so I end up just spending a lot of time with her, you know, watching her tennis matches or traveling to tournaments with her. Sometimes that can be as stressful as work. Competitions and things, but it is a great balance that I have between, you know, work and life. The trick is going to be, you know, in 2 years she'll be in university, and there'll be a little distance, and then I'm going to have to figure out how to get balance, because right now she's it.
Yeah, I think. So I've got two kids that have just gone on.
I'm just going to say, what did we just discuss this morning about balance and kids being at home? Yeah. So important. But
I bet she keeps you grounded, Mike. So when you've had a great day in the office and you're coming out on top, and then you go back home, you've got a 16-year-old daughter to bring you right back down to earth.
It's very humbling, honestly. You know, because at work, I think I told this story before, but when you're the CEO, people tend to listen to you, right? They tend to, you know, you ask them to do something, they tend to do it. At home, forget it. You know, tell my, you know, whatever, Sophie, you know, do your homework. no, I'm not doing it, or I'll do it later. I'll do it in the morning, or don't tell me what to do. And okay. So you learn, you have to adapt your leadership style situationally to every moment. And I've gotten really good at that. But that humility that comes from having a teenager, it sounds like you've experienced it, it is helpful in leading a big company.
Yeah. They're a special people, the teenagers. I think they're a race of their own, actually.
I think that's really interesting because you draw the line there between obviously personal and professional success. So I mean, just focusing on that sort of divide for a minute. How do you measure that, Mike? Right. So you're clearly juggling all of those things as a CEO of a major business intelligence company or major analytics vendor, and then you come home and something else is happening. How do you? Because I think we all struggle with that, right? And that sort of working from home balance and being work dad and then home dad is, it's hard. So, how do you kind of keep yourself grounded on that side of things?
Yeah, I learned a long time ago that sometimes you just have to do things one day at a time. You have these moments where you wake up and you feel overwhelmed. Even earlier this week, like we had Qlik World New York City, which is a huge event for us. I was obviously the host. I did the keynote. I had customers on stage. It was like Monday morning. First thing Monday morning. I had a board meeting on Tuesday. We had our leadership forum on Wednesday. I had client dinners. So I woke up Monday morning and you get that sort of, oh my God, look at my calendar this week. Look what it's going to be. And then you just realize just like one day at a time. I was like, all right, I got Qlik World today. I'm going to put my head around that. And then, then tomorrow's the board meeting. As you guys know, I have a terrific leadership team. I've got an amazing CFO. So, share the load, like surround yourself with great people, and then problem shared is a problem halved, right? So you get good people to help you solve problems, and then you find out. Then I come to Thursday, and all of a sudden my calendar looks better, and I get to start my day with you guys, and I'm like, wow, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have a really enjoyable.
That's the reward. Time with us. Yeah.
And I had that in my mind. I was like, all right, if I get through Wednesday, then Thursday I got the data mix. We're gonna have some fun. I've got my schedule lightens up a little bit. I'm actually gonna go to my daughter's tennis match this afternoon. And that's all. But you have to, if you just let yourself get like totally sucked into the moment and get overwhelmed, you'll never survive the kind of stress that comes with being a CEO in a private equity backed company and having a 16-year-old daughter. Like I would just implode. So one day at a time.
Yeah. I think it's super important to have those external interests as well. I think I've noticed that as well in my own life that you take out if work is the only thing and you don't have anything else. I owe a lot of people a lot of things for making me do some other things that are completely separate from that. And it's had a massive effect on positively on well-being as well.
And these experiences actually help you in the business world as well.
They help ground you when you go back into your business and you're like, okay, now I have perspective, right? So I had a terrible day yesterday, but it's just a day.
That's right.
It goes along with your sort of one.
Well, it's also so I tell you another story, which is, one of my other diversions is I do a lot of not-for-profit work, a lot of charity work. I think you guys know I work closely with on blood cancers, and I also do some educational stuff. But last week I had the opportunity, Orlando Bravo, who is the principal at Thoma Bravo, who essentially I work for, has a charity in Puerto Rico, and it's young entrepreneurs. And I was down in Puerto Rico helping him do like a little Shark Tank exercise. And these are largely kids, like they're kids that are like 19, 20, 21, 22, who are starting businesses with almost no capital and grinding away, and I think, okay, like these kids, and they're so energetic and optimistic, and they have not a lot of breaks, right? I mean, they're earning it the hard way. And I think about, everything that I have at my disposal to be successful. And I look at these kids and I'm like, wow, okay, like, if they can be so positive and so bold, I should be able to get up every day and be super energetic and super bold. And then, obviously that kind of work, it's fun diversion, right? Being a judge in a Shark Tank competition.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I think, not to go too deeply into it, but George and I were having a conversation just before we came on air about the importance of being present, right? And it's there in work, but quite often it's not there in personal life. And we just all need to remember, regardless of this being an analytics or data show, whatever it is, that being grounded in what you're doing and being present in the moment, there's nothing more vital in life for that to happen. So I think it was really important for us to have to talk about that side of things as well.
Indeed.
Yeah. And I think, you know, that's like it has been a journey, Mike. So obviously, you know, in terms of, you know, you talked about what you've learned. What are, like, if you had the top 3 things that you could pick out of what you learned during those up and down 5.5 years, what would those be? And let's think about that a little bit more from the personal side rather from the we accomplished this as Qlik type of side of things as well.
Yeah, well, so as we talked about, I've been CEO of Qlik for 5.5 years right now. I'm not sure you would find a more interesting 5.5 years to be a CEO in terms of all the things that have happened. You know, I wish I was a CEO from, like, you know, 2013 to 2018 versus, you know, 2018 to 2023 sometimes, because it was a little bit more stable environment, right? So, you know, we've had to manage through a pandemic. We've had to manage through a geopolitical conflict, right? There's a fairly significant conflict going on in Ukraine. I've had to shut down my Russia business, which was a very terrific business for us over time. We've had to, and now we're in a hyperinflationary environment. Interest rates have gone up. So it's really, you know, it really does challenge you. You have to manage and get through cycles and things like that. And the lesson learned, and I always tell those CEOs this, is you have to be ready and flexible. You know, and my guys, you know, my team, you know, James Fisher and the team, you know, they put together a 5-year strategic plan. And I was like, forget it. I was like, we have no idea what the world's going to look like in 5 years. There's no such, in the world of tech, you know, things change so quick. Like Gen AI is exploding. Like a year ago, nobody was talking about Gen AI. Now it's Gen AI. So the biggest lesson is just be ready for things to change, because they're going to. You don't know how, but, you know, and be ready to adapt to those things.
And do you think that's been influenced by COVID and the Ukraine? Because these are all, like, very serious events that have happened in a very short space of time. If you look at it over a longevity period, that's a lot of stuff has happened during a very tumultuous period. So, I mean, does that make you account for things on more of a one-off basis? Does your brain start to think differently because these things have happened? Well, if these extreme events have happened once, they could easily happen again in 2024. We don't know that. And does that affect your contingency planning?
It does. There's been more black swan events in the last 5 years than, you know, there were in the last 50, right? When you think about in terms of the global magnitude of the events, right? And even things that look small turn out to be really, really big. So Suez Canal getting shut down, right? You know, nobody had a model for that. There was no spreadsheet that said, hey, if the canal shuts down, here's what we're going to do. And that had far-reaching incidents, but like nobody called that, right? You know, Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan, right? Another example, disrupted supply chains. And now you've got the China economic, you know, sort of pressure that's coming on right now. And so that's why, you know, I tell my team that we have to be ready, but I also tell my customers, you have to be ready. And that's why what you guys do and when you're not doing podcasts, you know, and what Qlik does is super important, because the way to see through this stuff is data and data in real time. And so, you know, what I told the audience at Qlik World New York this week, like, never in the history of the world have you been more important to your company and to the planet than you are right now, because the way that we're going to navigate these black swan events is data. The way you reroute your supply chain and your shipping lanes and pivot business out of Russia somewhere else is by understanding the data and the opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that seems like a great point to switch it up into a little bit more of the data focus of Qlik, because as we mentioned before, accounting for these extraordinary events takes new techniques and it takes new strings to your bow, and obviously Qlik has added quite a few of those over recent times as well. And obviously, when we were in Vegas, Mike, and this was on everyone's lips, we weren't sure why Talend were there in such great numbers and what it meant for the company, and then everything closed publicly really quickly after the event. So really, I really want to start with how it was and how it's going with Talend. How are you guys finding all of that, 2 companies into one, because you're both massive companies? So how has that process been for you guys?
Yeah, it's an important question. And I know at some point we're probably going to start talking about Gen AI and all the hype around that. But the reality is we've been getting ready for this moment for 5 years. You know, we've always had a vision in our head about where the world was going. And where the world is going is harness as much data as you can in real time, get the quality of that data to where you can trust it, and get it ready for analytics and AI, and then analyze it, and then leverage AI, not in a swivel chair mode of, hey, I'm going to go type something into ChatGPT, like, but bring it in line, with your business processes. So we knew Talend was a great fit. As you know, we invested heavily in data integration. So the Openness acquisition we did in 2019, amazing. That business has done terrific, as companies move to kind of modernize their data lake infrastructure and move into the cloud with Snowflake and Databricks, and that business doing great. What Talend brought, which we didn't really have at scale, was this data quality aspect to it, as well as a data transformation aspect to it, not in the traditional like ETL sense, but in kind of a modern like push down transformation sense. So now we've got the full answer, right? We've got the data integration in real time. We've got the data quality, data transformation. We've got now obviously the analytics platform that everybody knows us for, and we've got AI, AutoML, AI capabilities, but it's in line, right? And so that vision is coming to fruition. The Talend integration is going great. We've merged the sales organizations as of August, so all of our customers have one sales representative who can sell them a piece of the full platform. As you guys know, we do business with our customers the way you do business with us, so it's not an all or nothing proposition. You want to buy data integration and use it with some other analytics platform, I don't love it, but of course we'll do that. By analytics, that's great, but more and more we're seeing customers say, you know what, I just need to solve the problem. The problem is an end-to-end problem. It's not an analytics problem. It's not a data integration problem. Help me solve the problem.
Don't you think it's ironic that the more and more you add to the product portfolio, the less you talk about Qlik specifically and more about the solving of the problem? We noticed that at Big Data London over the last few days, is that people are much less concerned with, we are using this tool. It's more like, we need to find something that fits our problem solution, right? And I think that was really important when you differentiated, when you talked about Talend and you talked about movement and the Qlik data integration compared to quality, because maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but I just want to put this out there. I think a lot of people wondered what Talend would bring to Qlik specifically that we didn't have already, right? When we had the QDI acquisition and all of that stuff happened. And maybe, what do you think about that statement, Mike? Do you think a lot of people thought, well, what is the part that this is filling in? But I understand it now, but maybe some people out there don't.
Yeah. The good news is, I mean, it's really, really complementary. When you look at the overlap between the two companies, we've had to do very little rationalization of products. They had a very small CDC technology that was a little bit of overlap with our QDI platform, which we'll deal with, but it was very, very small, and a little bit of rationalization around catalog, which we're working through. But the core Talend products, that was new to us, right? Now, yes, you guys know our product well, so we had some light transformation capabilities inside of Qlik Sense, etc. But like Talend is best in class in data transformation, right? Talend is best in class in data quality at scale, like massive financial services customers, massive manufacturing customers, all using Talend. And if I'm honest, we didn't really have those capabilities. And to me, starting from 5 years ago when I got to Qlik, I realized very quickly that analytics is an important piece of the puzzle, but it's not the only piece. And if we just keep like trying to run hard and out compete, Power BI and Tableau, without creating other points of differentiation, that was a race that would be really hard. But now we've created the solution, right? The solution, more and more, if I talk to a CDO, is not just the analytics. It's, oh my God, help me get all of the data I've got locked up everywhere in SAP, in mainframes, in these cloud systems, Workday and Salesforce. Unlock that for me, but then curate it, catalog it, get the quality right, get the lineage right. Help me build a trusted data analytics platform where I know the data is good. And oh, by the way, governed and secure, right? You guys see what's happening right now with company. People are putting like their private IP into public LLMs. It's like the craziest thing ever. And my customers are the big banks, insurance. Forget it. Like if I was a data privacy officer right now, I'd be having nightmares, right? And so my job is to help fix all that and to govern this stuff and to give people a trusted platform where they can leverage the power of Gen AI and LLMs, and yeah, like leverage the public LLMs as complementary to what you're doing, but for God's sake, don't let your data like get out there. And we can do all that. And that to me is a very important point of differentiation between us and our competitors.
Does this bring us nicely into the Gen AI?
I think Gen AI, I was just going to let you talk about that a little bit as well, and how that segues into obviously another big announcement that's come out in recent weeks from Qlik.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm getting the data mix mug in there. I'm not even looking at the screen and I can see it happening. But, what are your thoughts, George? Obviously, Qlik Staige.
Well, look, I rewind a year, not even a year. I mean, I think if we go back to Las Vegas earlier this year, when was that? April?
Yeah, April.
People were starting to talk about ChatGPT.
Yes.
Gen AI was starting to, and I think it was mostly kids saying, wow, this can do our homework for us. But it was exploding. People didn't really know what it was. And then less than 6 months later, Qlik brought a product out. And I mean, that is, you talked a little bit earlier, Mike, about, how you can't make a 5-year plan. But talk a little bit about how you were able to pivot so quickly and embrace this technology. Was this planned? Or do you just have such an awesome team that were able to very quickly build this into the strategy and come out with some, really convincing products?
So thank you. They're very, very, very flattering. I feel like we could have moved even faster than we did. My team loves me for that. But look, the reality is it was really important to me that whatever we did, whatever we said was real. And if you looked at a lot of the press releases that came out early on, they were futures. It's like, here's our vision, here's what's happening. One of our closest competitors actually pointed to April 2024 as like a launch date for one of their platforms, something like that. And so what I told my team is, look, we got to be present, but we got to be real, and because that's our reputation with our customers is we don't sell futures, like we sell tangible stuff. AI is not new. You guys know this. AI has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It's pattern recognition, right? It's all it is. It's pattern recognition. What is new is the massive amounts of compute we have at our disposal. The quality of the algorithms has gotten better. They've gotten smarter, and now the technology is able to improve itself. So like that exponential curve is really taken off, and that's what we're experiencing right now. Qlik's been doing AI for a long time. Like you got Qlik World 5 years ago, Josh Good was on stage showing the cognitive engine
the beast,
like the Insight Advisor and like all the stuff that ChatGPT does. It was great. Like, here's your data, loaded into this model, and boom, here's like five suggested charts and graphs, and here's some narrative about what we're seeing in the data, right? But now we can do that at massive scale, and we can harness more and more and more data. And guess who's in-memory technology is really good at doing stuff like that, right? They talk about vector databases. Like we've known vector databases for a really long time. And so what we needed to do though was we needed to be articulate with our customers about what we're doing, and that's what Brian and George you're seeing right now with Qlik Staige is really an articulation of what we've been doing for the last 5 years to get ready for this moment, and all the capabilities really we already have in our platform, but in a much more cogent presentation about what we're doing and how it all kind of hangs together, both the data integration and the analytics and the AI, and then of course my passion, which is these models are really no good unless the data is good and can be trusted. You've seen the horrible false positives that have come out. And as you also know, they can be manipulated, right? These models can be manipulated. I can tell you stories about what some of our competitors have done to make the answers to ChatGPT look better for their products than other products. And we need to fight that. Like, we have a moral obligation as providers of data and analytics tools to be able to give people veracity when it comes to working with data.
That moral obligation is a huge thing, right? As we move into the area of AI, that we don't just use it for the sake of using it and because it's there. It has to be the right use case, and it's our responsibility. And I say our in the loosest sense of the word, but also the tightest sense of the word. We shouldn't let things be getting out there that we don't trust, and it's our obligation to raise the red flags when that happens. So I like I like the idea here of Qlik Staige because it seems to me it's a wrapper around all of that. Yeah. And it was interesting when we heard about it the first time the first thing that someone said to us internally was, this isn't something that you can download. And I guess from that perspective, that's right, Mike, right? Yeah. It's not a product, it's setting, I think I see a strong direction of setting a framework for how Qlik is going to handle AI moving forwards. And that's what I see primarily Staige at. Is that fair, would you say?
That's right. No, that's completely fair. And look, we are, as you know, we're completely open. We API everything, right? That's been our philosophy from the beginning. Our customers work in heterogeneous environments. We want to help them. So, you know, you can, today, you can punch out to ChatGPT using data that's inside of Qlik. So it's always been our commitment to our customers. But to me, the interest, you know, I'm a very practical business person at the end of the day. Again, we're back to this kind of solve the problem. I was at an event. It was a terrific event. It was hosted by HSBC and you know, the folks they brought from Silicon Valley Bank in the UK. And we're talking about AI. And they had a guest speaker who said something to the effect of, you know, standalone small AI companies, it's fine, but that's not where I would invest. He's like, if I was an investor, I would invest in companies who can take AI and apply it to real business problems and workflows and platforms that people are already used to. Bring the AI in line with, you know, your existing kind of data analytics platform, right? And your automation platform, right? You know, Qlik has this amazing automation platform where once you get an insight, you can push it out to, you know, a POS system or into a CRM system, and we do all that stuff. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it mainline and real. And you see our AutoML platform, which is now built into our analytics platform. Like that's what we do. We make it very practical, and you know, that's the solve. You know, honestly, that's what we're trying to solve for.
Yeah. Like Mike, I know we're running up against the time factor here as well, and we did just a last mention here. We did want to just very briefly touch on capacity licensing, because obviously that's another thing that's come in of late, and it's a new way to, I guess, get your licensing sorted with Qlik. So maybe just a few seconds on that if you have time, because I know we're up against it a little bit.
Sure, I can be very brief. Everything we do is informed by customer feedback. So over time, as you know, analytics is transformed from people sitting at a desk, like being business analysts, like working in analytics, to much more of a analytics everywhere, right? So, you know, headless analytics, you're analyzing things in real time and making decisions. And our customers said, look, it'd be more practical for us to move to capacity model versus a user model, because we don't really think in terms of users anymore. We think in terms of, again, solutions and consumption, and a lot of, as you know, the industry's moved this way, right? So if you work with Snowflake or somebody else, you'd have the same kind of thing. So we're really just responding to customer feedback. The advantages are many, right? Which is you pay for what you use, you know, and you pay for our success is your success and vice versa. Whereas before, you know, you buy thousands of users, you didn't deploy them all. You had this mismatch, and we had to go figure it out. Now it's pretty simple. Like, are you getting value out of the analytics or not? You know, and we benefit if you are. So it puts us on the hook to make sure that you're seeing the benefit from our products. We think it's a great alignment.
And I think that on the hook thing and that feedback and on the hook are the last two things I'll just mention there, Mike, is that obviously, you know, George and I are part of some feedback groups, as are many other customers. And for us, it's really interesting to see that Qlik are paying pretty serious attention to when these new things are coming out now. Your feedback loop is pretty sturdy, I would say, that we're starting to see that, oh, the market is saying this. Oh, really? We hadn't seen that. So let's at least talk about it. So, you know, I think the openness of Qlik as a company is something that needs a bit of a mention at this point.
Absolutely, and I think that feedback, look, as you mentioned, is something that you know, we're seeing the changes happen in Qlik quickly. So when we're talking about something within, for example, the partner ambassador forums, that's actually getting fed back very, very quickly back into the product and into what's being said. So for that, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Look, I said it before, we're the greatest users in the world. Now we got the partner advisory, we've got the luminaries. You guys know the energy of those groups. There's no shortage of passionate feedback, and it really isn't coming upon us to take advantage of that, because it's unique. Like the luminaries and the partner program that we've got. I've never seen anything quite so powerful in terms of a user community.
Well, you know, I think that's a good positive way to finish. And obviously, we could talk for a lot longer, Mike. And we've got tons of other questions that we could ask, but you know, we really appreciate the time that you've given us today. George, any sort of closing comments here for Mike?
Just try the Irn Bru again. You might second time around like it.
All right. Next time we're in the same country, guys.
Yeah, it'll be fine. That'll be fine. Look, all we can say, Mike, is a huge thanks for giving us your time.
You.
It's we know it's been a challenge to get this organised, but we super appreciate it, and hopefully the community will see this and see a slightly different side to you, which I think has been a nice twist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we appreciate you starting your Thursday with us.
Yeah.
It's been fun. I love working with you guys. So thank you for having me on. And I'll remember episode 15.
Yeah, we got it. We got it. So that sort of wraps it up for us. George and I, until the next time, George and I say thank you very much for attending episode number 15 of the Data Mix. We'll be back with you very soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully you can manage to unmute yourself, George. I'll unmute you. There you go. Okay. I hope I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how do you think that went?
There we go. So, yeah, I think that was good. I've quite enjoyed the tech mix that we've had here, and it's nice to have this sort of reflective period at the end of the show where we've had a bit of time to think about what's happened. Our audience has had a bit of time to watch what's happened as well. So I think before we sort of dive into it a little bit, George, because we've got like 10 minutes left, so I just want to call out a couple of people in the chat here. So now the first person I'm just going to mention here is let's get the ticker out of the way to start with. Let's start. We've got I love that tune, and I know from having checked out LinkedIn Live that this is Angelica. So thank you very much, Angelica. We do love our tune here. It keeps us going. And I flashed this one up during the actual show as well. But turn up the bass, Joachim. I like the attitude. We live in this place, and we are here for you. Couple of others we've got going on here. We've got thanks very much, Pete, for tuning in. Glad you like the picture-in-picture. It's a complete experiment for us, George, that started about 45 minutes ago. So
I liked it too, though. I liked it too.
Yeah, I think that this is a nice little switch up for us, rather than being on the fly and having to push all the buttons. It gives us all a little bit more time to reflect. So thanks, Pete. We appreciate that. We're getting towards the end of the comments here, and then we've got Jonathan. Jonathan, you're more than welcome. I'm really pleased that you like the format, or maybe you just like the part with Mike and you hate us, which is okay as well. But I think there's some parts of that really clicked, and we'll just get everyone a mention here while we're here. Matthias, thank you very much for joining. We appreciate it. Great talk again. We'll assume that's pointed towards Mike and not us. One that we will talk about a little bit more is from Angel here. Qlik has the most practical approach to AI and BI. Very interesting. So be interesting if anyone's got any more thoughts on that as well. And last couple here, and then we'll dive in. From Noel, you're very well. Glad we were able to supply for you. Hopefully it was a bit of a different slant than you normally see out in the wild. And let's finish with Joshua again, who simply sums it up completely with that. So,
thumbs up.
Wow, that was good. That was a lot to unpack, mate. What are the things that you wanted to touch on out of that episode? And having had a bit of time to reflect on it.
One in particular. So I genuinely, I don't want to sound like too much of a Qlik fanboy here, but I have been impressed at how quickly Qlik have moved on Qlik Staige and to actually properly embody an AI, a chat GPT type experience within Qlik Sense. And then Mike says, yeah, but we could have moved faster. I'm kind of glad I'm not in his dev team. Because I think, I mean, what did they have? 6 to 12 months from that initial sort of wave to having a product out. I thought that was impressive.
I think when you think about it in context, like you say, the time frame there is there's not a lot of time to react there, right? Something pops up on the face of the planet, overtakes everything that is happening, and not really production ready in a lot of cases, or knowing how to use it to make it production ready is a challenge, shall we say. But I think that the callback to the earlier things that we've seen from Qlik is quite interesting with the cognitive engine and the, the responsive charts and knowing which chart to select and that kind of thing. That was all rooted back several years ago now, and it's not new stuff for Qlik. So I think one of the interesting things that Mike mentioned there was just the volume and the compute has just made everything more feasible. Probably the main reason that something like ChatGPT has not arrived sooner is because there's never been enough power to actually supply it. And we're only just reaching that threshold now. And I'm reticent to turn this into a Gen AI, dedicated discussion, but I think it is worth remembering that happened quite a few years ago for Qlik now.
Yeah, so it's more, rather than it being just in the right place at the right time, would you say they were just waiting for this day? They were putting all the building blocks in place, the developments, the trials, everything from having the chatbot in there has, led them on this path, and they were just waiting for the explosion in compute power.
Yeah, look, I think there has to be a bit of balance here, right? We have to be at least slightly skeptical here and say not every BI company is prepped for everything that ever happens, right? I think there is a lot of truth in the statement that we know about InsightBot and Insight Advisor and all of that kind of thing has been around. We know that the Beast and the Cognitive Engine have been around for a while, and those have been quite public things that have been like so. I do think that they had a bit of a leg up here, and that it wasn't. This clearly isn't a strategy that's just landed on the ground and run with it. That's my opinion on it anyway. I'd be interested to hear what other people think, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of interesting comments now coming in. One from Joachim. Sorry, poor pronunciation, but yep, Staige is great, Talend is great, but the combo and integration with Qlik will be a game changer. We need roadmaps.
Yeah, look, I think in the technology space that we work in nowadays, this is one of the most challenging. And Mike referenced in his call, 5-year roadmaps. That is very difficult to ascertain when something like ChatGPT or Gen AI just lands out of nowhere, or a real usable version of it lands out of nowhere. How much do you flex your plan to make that happen? And I think one of the things that Joshua, I think your comment is great. Actually, Staige is great, Talend is great, but the combo and the integration, and there's that word integration again. And I think Qlik has grown up a little bit into a big boys BI tool, is the way that I would, or a big boys platform now. It used to just be, you've got your Qlik View and you've got your Qlik Sense, but we've seen the portfolio expand, and you have to give them a modicum of credit for that, because they've filled the gaps quite well. And I was probably a bit bullshy on the call there when I talked about I effectively asked the question, what is Talend for, and what does it replace in the product suite, and what gap does it fill? Mike answered it quite eloquently, and I think it's important that people know that in a pretty basic capacity why these companies are being purchased, because sometimes it can just get lost in the portfolio, right? And when it's a big acquisition, you want to have that clarity about where it's going as well.
Yeah, but they've kept the same North Star, I would say, and that was to be a leader among BI tools. They didn't, they're not a Power BI. They're certainly not a Tableau, But what I think they have been really good at is they've had for a long time, they've had this in-memory advantage. You know, they were one of the first products out there to kind of get rid of the cube and come out with in-memory analysis. And then what came along was compute and, you know, companies like Snowflake. And then for a while, Power BI was taking over there. I'm still not entirely sure if, you know, I'm hearing a lot of people saying in memory is dead. I would like to argue with that, because when you're then doing edge computing, when you're sort of working offline as such, and you don't necessarily have direct access to tools like Snowflake, then in memory still is useful. But what I've seen Qlik do really well is take the opportunities as they come along. And work well with them. You know, there's a saying that you make your own luck. Well, you know, when the opportunities come, they've just, I think, used them to their advantage. Okay, I sound like a Qlik fanboy again, but
no, I think that's fair. But I think to counterbalance that just a little bit, you could say that Qlik have introduced an overwhelming amount of arms to their limbs, to their body. And for the average person who is involved in Qlik, that gamut of things that you can be involved in is much wider now. And I think there is, you know, because we are an agnostic show here, we can talk about things like Power BI and Tableau, and we're certainly not saying that Qlik is the answer to everything. But I think brand dilution here is, it works two ways, right? It's great to have all these strings to your bow, but is the message coming across that you're brilliant at everything, or is the message coming across that you just do everything? And I think that's one thing that I think needs to just be honed a little bit, because obviously, you know, Qlik Staige, fantastic concept, great to see that there's presence out there, but we do need to see it in action, and we do need to see that actually walking the walk rather than just talking. And that maybe seems harsh, but I think in a world where you're constantly acquiring and you're constantly making promises, you do have to back those up. So, I mean, do you think that's a counterbalance there to what you were saying?
Yeah, I do, because there is a concept that, or they could be accused of just taking every single opportunity that comes along, and then you know, one of them will pay off. So yeah, that's probably the other way of looking at it. And there has sometimes been a little bit of criticism about their product suite is now so wide that we're not quite sure what the overall strategy is.
I think when you kind of meld in, one of the other things we talked about briefly at the end was capacity licensing, and having been in touch with, you know, various parts of the community through various channels over the last wee while, that the feedback on that has been, I would say, generally positive, but not overwhelmingly so, because there are things with the capacity licensing, like Mike said, which are fantastic. You have on a consumption basis. If you have a bunch of read-only users or professional users and you have a company of a certain size, that absolutely makes sense. However, if you need something that's maybe in a tier that is not the tier that works for you financially, but you get the other stuff, does it then make it worth it? And what about the smaller organizations as well? How does capacity licensing work for them? So again, just sitting on the fence and playing devil's advocate on that a little bit, I would say that to touch on the feedback loop, that has been pretty strong. And I know that some of those points that I have just talked about there are in active discussion with various parts of the community. So I want to be careful that we give a balanced view here, right, of what things are. And it's not just a case of, you know, it's great, you've got Staige and Talend and capacity licensing. Those are all very good additions, but they all have their things that people need their clarity on as well. So,
yep, all food for thought and good discourse.
Overthink a really interest of. It's very different for us, the way that it's happened and the tech that we've done, but we hope we might not do this all the time, but I think there's a good chance that we could switch it up a little bit as we go through. What do you think, mate? I mean, it's been good.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Yeah, I think it's been an interesting way to, and especially listening back as well. It's reliving the experience. Yeah, it's worked for me.
All right, nice. Well, you know what, mate? It's a lovely pleasure to be with you as always, with your rocket in the background and my Xbox and R2D2 sitting there as well. And we're just rounding out on the hour now. So it's Friday. October holidays are on the way in Scotland. So I think it's about time we release our audience. So just thank you very much for everyone that's attended. We hope you like the format. George, any words from you to close?
Just have a lovely weekend, everybody, when it comes, and thank you for being online with us, and watching Mike back with us as well in real time.
Superb. Well, we will be back very soon with episode 16 of the Data Mix. We will let you know as soon as that is on the board. Have a great weekend, everyone. We will see you then. Cheers. Bye.